We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, here it is, Season 3, Episode 12. No spooky music this week, but we are down and dirty into playoff season.
It was so good, Carnes. I almost want to have Halloween every single week.
You know, if only, if wishes were fishes, the world would be an ocean. But it's not. It's playoffs. It's round 2. We're getting you ready to go. Brandon Carnes here. Justin Feldkamp, Mason Lowry. This podcast, of course, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go, sports bar. See, we're back to the regular voice effect. Everything's back. It's hunky-dory. I got to know, guys, though, if you have a surprise from week 1 of the playoffs, Mason, you go ahead and go first, buddy.
Oh, I think it's got to be Napoleon.
As a
13 seed who had just limped through the regular season with so many injuries to not only win, but to throttle Clearview by 49 points.
A dominant fashion, to say the least.
Is astonishing. That's a dangerous team now if they're healthy, and I don't know how many of those guys are back, but look out for them.
Justin, now that your Thunder's been stolen, you can still shout out Napoleon. Don't worry.
I'll just echo Mason's sentiment. I mean, they were a 5-5 team, up and down. We talked about it on Game Day Tailgate throughout the season. It was a win followed by a loss, followed by a win, loss, up and down and up and down. And kind of they were just, I know Napoleon had some injuries like Mason mentioned last week, but 49-0. Like, it's one thing as a 13 seed to win 31-28 or 17-14 kind of thing, or a game into the fourth quarter. But I mean, 49-0. And we have seen Napoleon take advantage of playing in a NLL that has a bunch of schools that are larger than them in enrollment and utilize that. And then they go to Division 4 in the postseason and then use that to their advantage. But yeah, that would be my surprise. And it has been a while, and doing some research since Napoleon had gone on a playoff run. I believe 2012 was the last time that they went on a quote-unquote deep playoff run. But yeah, definitely round 1, that's my surprise team.
Wildcat Nation, you're due for your playoff run. Maybe it's happening now. Of course, I'm still ride or die. If you know, we're off the ride now for the Maumee Panthers. That was a shocker. Lexington came out, just great second half for them. Valiant effort to fight back from a hole for Maumee, but they fall in the playoffs. But we'll get you caught up on everything that happened in round 1 and set for round 2 today on the podcast. We'll get our game of the week and, of course, our clip of the week brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Make sure you're here every single Wednesday for a brand new episode of the podcast, or anywhere you get your audio format podcasts, or over at bcsnnation.com/podcast. The word podcast is losing meaning. I'm saying it too much. Head over to our social media pages at BCSN Sports. Find all of our content Monday through Sunday. Don't miss a thing. But now we're going to brackets. Last week, Division 1 or Division 4, 5, and 6 is where we will start. We'll look at round 1 of the playoffs. Cisco, give me Division 4 to get this thing rolling. Here we go. Sandusky Perkins, our Erie team, survives. We got taking on Vermilion, the 8 seed. Napoleon, we just talked about on the upset over Clearview. They'll take on Bay, Village, Bay, and then Shelby, Ottawa, Glandorf, Ontario, and then, of course, Clyde down there at the bottom, taking out Otsego. Mason, what you got for me here?
I think this is a really strong region. We've just talked about Napoleon at length. I think in that game against Bay Village Bay, that's a really good Bay team. They just beat a really good Rocky River team, I believe is the 4 seed in Region 10.
Yeah.
They'll play Lexington this Friday night. Just beat them by 2 touchdowns, 35-21 in Week 10. That's a really good win. They play in a tough, very competitive conference, just like Napoleon, although Napoleon has the benefit, as Justin rightly pointed out, they have to go up against a bunch of much bigger schools in their conference, and Bay is with a lot of similarly sized schools. I think it's still shaping up for Perkins and Shelby to play in that regional final, the Pirates and the Whippets. Don't sleep on Clyde. I would never sleep on the Clyde Flyers ever this time of year. It's one of those programs that it kind of feels like it's in their DNA that they pull off a surprise every playoff season. So if they go out and beat Ontario, an Ontario team that scores a ton of points, Clyde might be able to keep up with them. It's going to be fun to follow from a distance.
All right, we'll go to Division 5 now. We know how packed Division 5 has been for us all season. Still multiple teams left over. Justin, have at it, my friend.
All right, so quickly, I got the Edison Chargers, Eastwood Eagles, Liberty Center Tigers, and Oak Harbor Rockets advancing to the next round based on that bracket there. I just think that those teams are clearly ahead of the others. Liberty Benton, I think they have in some ways been a finesse, offensive-oriented aerial attack team in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to work against Liberty Center's defense. I think they've given up less than 50 points all season long through
Pretty
11
good.
games. And with the ground attack that Liberty Center employs and that style of owning the possession arrow, if you will, if you want to correlate basketball to football. But I think Edison is the one team who beat Perkins this year, so they are deserving of that 1 seed.
100%.
Eastwood, they took it to Archbold. Eastwood is the only team who has taken Oak Harbor to the final quarter this season. I can see Eastwood relatively easily going on the road and beating Norwayne. We were hoping that Coach Mike Vickers at Delta could get a win, but they lost in overtime to Norwayne. So I can see Eastwood winning this Friday, and I could see Eastwood giving Edison a game in a neutral site location as well.
Yeah, we'll keep that Division 5 bracket as red as we can, but now it's Division 6 time. 2 local teams left. Patrick Henry there, the 4 seed, and Ottawa Hills down there at the bottom taking on Fairview. Mason, real quick, what you got, D6?
Yeah, I'm just a little disappointed Justin missed the opportunity to call that Liberty Center, Liberty Benton matchup the Liberty Bowl.
There you go.
There are 2 games here that stand out to me, and again, I'll be relatively quick about it. Patrick Henry and Carey. Carey is just 3 years removed from a state championship. They upset Tenora last week. Another one of those programs, winning is in their DNA. Patrick Henry has maybe the best individual player in this region in Lincoln Krieger, terrific quarterback and linebacker. And Ottawa Hills Fairview is going to be a really, really good matchup. 2 teams that score a ton of points. Ottawa Hills hasn't played a great schedule. We'll see if that ends up hurting them. And Huron will compete with Bluffton, I'm sure. Huron, like Napoleon, they are undermanned in terms of student body size every week. They played and lost to 3 big programs their last 3 regular season games. They're ready. They're as seasoned as they're going to be.
I will say every week, though, we have said Ottawa Hills hasn't faced anybody. They're facing another high-scoring team. They have come
Except
out
for
and dominated.
And they come
everybody
out and put up 50.
played.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Ottawa Hills
every
has been
single
terrific. A quick note, you got a number of Sandusky Bay Conference teams on there.
Sure.
I know it's a huge conference, so a lot of teams are going to get into the postseason because they have those 3 Lake, Bay, and River divisions.
Yep.
But 14 total teams across those 3 divisions within the SBC made the playoffs. 10 of the 14 won last week and are still alive, and you see a number of them on the screen there in Region 22.
All right, plenty to digest in 4, 5, and 6. We'll be back with a specific breakdown of one of those games after 30 seconds from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings, buy one, get one free. Boneless Thursdays saved me so much cash. I can finally do everything I've ever wanted in life, like skydiving. You ready? No, this was a mistake, a huge mistake. I want to go back. I want to go back. Go! Yeah, I'll probably just use the money I saved to get more buy one, get one free boneless wings at B-Dubs. No brainer. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
What's that? You doubt the Green Bears? Well, it's too late. We're talking Green Bears. Apache's Green Bears this Friday, Division 6, Round 2. Green Bears took on Crestview last week, 49-12 win. They took on Eden the week before. We said, well, maybe this will be their test. Blew them out of the water. They've stepped up every single time. We've been like, well, who have they played? And said, we're here. We're ready to go, and you can't take us on. Mason, what you got?
I really am a huge fan of this Ottawa Hills offense. Obviously, how could you not be?
Yeah.
They've got so many big play threats all over the place. And, of course, it starts with Chase Miller, and we'll see his feat of daring do in a little bit.
Hey.
Just phenomenal player on both sides of the ball, a guy that has been the starting quarterback since day one for that program, literally as a freshman, stepped in immediately and did very, very well. The Pillarellis are so dangerous. The thing for me, any defense that goes up against them, and nobody's even slowed them down, really, since week 1 against Gibsonburg.
Yeah.
Does Fairview have the horses to stay in front of those guys and prevent 80-yard touchdowns? Maybe give up a middle distance gain, 15 instead of 80, because we know how quickly Ottawa Hills can score. That, to me, is going to be the key.
100%.
All right, so against playoff teams, yes, in totality, Ottawa Hills doesn't have the strongest strength of record or strength of schedule, but against playoff teams, they scored 40 against Evergreen. They scored 55 against Eden. They scored 49 against Crestview. Northwood went 6-4, somewhat surprising 6-4, did not make the playoffs, but Ottawa Hills scored 37 on them. So they can beat quality opponents. Are they
Absolutely.
top 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the postseason? No, not yet. but don't discount them. Coach Brandon Carter has done a great job since taking over for Chris Hardman with the Green Bears there in the Village. Last year, they were the 6th seed. They went 11-2, lost to Bluffton in a relative blowout. They got crushed in a neutral site location. They could meet Bluffton again if both Bluffton and Ottawa Hills win this Friday. This year entered with now 9-1. Remember, they did not replace that Cardinal Stritch vacancy game. So they still went 8-1 and then got the 3 seed. So, I mean, guys like Nick Anderson, Jackson Snyder, Cooper Eidner, Sterling Caracas have been impressive, whether it's catching the ball and getting in the end zone or blocking for those guys. Fairview comes out of the Green Meadows Conference. I think you can make the argument that both of these teams haven't played stellar competition week in and week out throughout the season. I give the advantage to Ottawa Hills. Quite honestly, I think they could score 35-plus on this, and it could be a sizable distance as we get into the third quarter.
All right, my bandwagon has officially shifted. We're off the Mommy Panthers. I rode as long as I could. I'm with Coach Brandon Carter. We got the same initials. How can I not join that fight? Now it's time to go through the Division 1, 2, and 3 brackets. Cisco, hit me with D1 first. Our game of the week that we will talk about later is up here. Whitmer and St. Ed's down there at the 2-7 matchup. Perrysburg putting a whooping on Medina last week. They'll get Berea Mid-Park this Friday, and then up at the top, Menor, of course, survives a hellacious 1-9 St. Ignatius team.
Ooh, hellacious.
Hellacious Ignatius. And then you've got Strongsville, Massillon Jackson, and Canton McKinley at the top half of this bracket. Justin, real quick, one of those 2 matchups down there?
Yeah, so if
we'll focus on Perrysburg. I guess we'll talk Whitmer later.
If Whitmer and Perrysburg both win, that guarantees Northwest Ohio versus Northwest Ohio, which would then guarantee a Northwest Ohio team in the regional finals, likely going up against Menor, a team that's undefeated and the 1 seed. But this St. Edward, like you mentioned, we're going to break them down, but they're 3-time defending state champs.
Yes.
But they are not the caliber of team that they have had over the past of those 3 seasons. We'll get to more of the details of that coming up later.
The tease.
But, I think most of what you see on that screen, besides the 11 seed beating the 6 seed, went as expected last week.
All right, we'll go Division 2 now. We've got Anthony Wayne, St. Francis, and Sandusky pulling the upset last week over Mason Heinschel and the Clay Eagles. 3 picks Mason threw that really shifted that one in Sandusky's favor. We'll talk a little bit about Sandusky in a little bit later. All the teases. Mason, what you got?
Yeah, Sandusky's athleticism was what carried the day against Clay, and 100%. I don't think that's going to matter nearly as much against Anthony Wayne. Anthony Wayne, not a team that likes to throw the football all that much, though they proved in Week 10 against Perrysburg that they absolutely can.
Sure.
Grant Kinney was so good in the first half of that game in particular. What an awesome win for Josh Linkey and St. Francis. Of course, your reward for that.
The Cinderella season.
Your reward is you go on the road and you play a Medina Highland team that's just beating the snot out of everybody.
Yeah.
It's probably where the road ends for St. Francis, but who knows? I mean, all it takes is 2 big runs, let's say, from Eli Beal.
Real deal, Beal.
And you're very much in that football game, so we'll see. Avon, I have to think, is going to get to the regional final, although Olmsted Falls, they play that tricky flex bone kind of style that's tough to get ready for, and that can keep them in games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we'll go Division 3. Central Catholic, the only remaining local team. They'll take on Revere. Justin, real quick, what you got here?
Yeah, so the 2 quote-unquote local teams are at the top and the bottom here, and Central and Defiance. Well. And remember, Defiance scored 26 points versus Central Catholic last year in the postseason. It was really the closest game, or definitely the amount of points that were scored against Central throughout the entire 6-game run in the postseason. The most scored points against Central came from Defiance, so keep that in mind. I see Central, Buckeye, and Benedictine as the top 3 teams in this of the remaining 8. So our question on Friday night is going to be, when will Central Catholic get tested? Will it be Friday night against Revere? Will it be against Rocky River or Lexington? Yeah. Or will it be in the regional finals against potentially Medina Buckeye or Benedictine, or maybe Defiance pulls off some upsets here? But that will be the question, how far can Central go without being tested? They handled Lutheran West easily last week.
All right, now it is time for our clip of the week, brought to you, of course, by Renewal by Anderson. Cisco, hit the white. I've decided the clip of the week is clips of the week. There's 3 of us on the left side of the screen. There are 3 clips to watch here. The first one, St. Francis, Avon Lake. Deep pass, no one near him. Raheem Brown says, I got this. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Force the fumble. Picks it back up in his own end zone. You can preach everything you want about the turnaround at St. Francis. This to me signifies it. There's no quit. There is every bit of heart you have put in this. Raheem Brown's 15 yards away when that ball's thrown and was able to track him down and get there.
Yeah, it was fantastic play. I texted Josh Linke as I was walking to the studio set Friday night, and I said, hey, you guys are driving back on the bus. Why don't you pull up the 13 ABC live stream? You might want to check out the Trifecta. I put this play in the Trifecta.
100%.
And he obviously loved the fact that we were featuring one of his players, and he texted back 2 words, culture play.
1,000%. He said that on our social media as well. It's a culture shift. Mason, you teased this next play earlier today. We're going to see a white flash if I'm all right. Look at that. I know my own editing. How about that?
Go.
Here it is. O'Hills, we're in the village. Chase Miller, one-man party, tips it to himself, picks it off. He got 3 feet down. That was good on Sunday, any day of the week. Holy smokes, Chase Miller.
That is such an extraordinary play that our cameraman couldn't believe what he was seeing. I don't think it's so tough to get over to that because you're expecting a ball to go out of bounds or something. You're thinking, no way is anybody going to make a play on this ball. But, man, if anybody can, Chase Miller can. What an all-around player he is. Every small, microscopic, tiny school needs guys like him if they're going to succeed. And they've got a whole bunch of them, luckily.
What I liked, if we would continue this video, he's walking to the sidelines, and then he rips off his gloves. Goes, okay, I
Now
did make that play. Now I got to go play quarterback. I love it.
Made its way to the number 6 play on SportsCenter's top 10 Friday night.
And
Chase
rightfully
Miller,
so.
highlights on both sides of the ball all throughout that game. Ready for the white flash? I think I'm right. Oh, we got one more replay. Hold on. Let's soak and bask in the excellence.
You can never see too much of this.
Bask in the excellence of Chase Miller.
Touchdown passing leader.
That will take Mason to where he was on Saturday.
Indeed.
Dublin Coffin and Perrysburg in the state or regional final. Boy, Camille Francis is real good at this whole soccer thing, huh?
Well, as soon as the ball got launched over the top, Francis Stevens says, oh, it's
there
over.
It is.
And he's right.
Yeah, you could hear him.
Because we know Camille Francis is a special finisher, and that might look simple. It's not. When you're running at that speed and you're trying to hit the ball back across your body, that is a difficult thing to pull off. Kaufman's goalkeeper had been spectacular the entire game. Nothing she could do to keep that out. And by the way, first time I'd ever been to Marysville. That is the coolest high school football/soccer stadium I've been to. Among new builds. It's built straight up. It's a full-width soccer field, 80 yards wide. I've never seen one like that before.
Yeah, I remember watching it on the broadcast. I was like, man, this feels gigantic.
It was.
Even watching it, it felt so much wider than a normal football field. Yeah, Camille Francis. And unfortunately, the Perrysburg season came to an end last night, losing to Walsh Jesuit in the state semifinal. A little recap here. One more look at each one of those 3 plays.
If he throws, the quarterback throws to 86, it's an Avon Lake touchdown because he's presented with that. You've got 2 options, both of whom are wide open over the middle. Yeah. He chose the wrong guy. Raheem Brown probably doesn't get to the other one based on where Raheem is and where he's recovering from.
Yeah. There's the first one, of course, Chase Miller and his interception, and Camille Francis, her game-winning goal that sent Perrysburg to the state semifinal. Those are clips of the week brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. I don't have to pick just one. I've picked 3. Deal with it. Head over to our TikTok at BCSN Sports. Get more of each one of those clips. Help us move to 10,000 followers. But now, student section of the week is in the past. It's a thing of the past. It's now time for you to vie for the belt to stay with you. Student section of the season. Make sure you are sending us hashtag SSOTS. All 10 of our winners throughout the regular season are now in the pool to win the student section of the season. So it doesn't mean stop sending us stuff. That just means change the hashtag a little bit. Come get the belt. Let it stay with you. That, of course, brought to you by Unison Health. And now it's time to get back into Division II football. Sandusky and Anthony Wayne. We teased about it a little bit earlier when looking at the brackets. But we've got the Blue Streaks fresh off the upset over the Clay Eagles, and Anthony Wayne, who just seems untouchable so far this season, Justin.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Before we continue, Camille Francis, where's she going to play soccer in college? Do we know?
Oh, I think you know. Ohio University.
That's right. Okay. So OU and her sister plays at Michigan State, correct?
Yes, Adele.
So, congratulations to them.
Pretty good soccer family.
I love the left foot cross there.
Yeah.
You know, you're not naturally dominant foot. I teach my daughter, hey, make that left foot as good as your right foot.
And rightfully so.
So, all right. Anyway, Sandusky, Anthony Wayne. Sandusky 7-4. Mason said earlier, athleticism. I mentioned this quickly note on the game day tailgate. I said Sandusky, for Clay, be looking out for those elite athletes who can be game changers and game breakers and give it a little seam and bust it 79 yards. And we saw that offensively and defensively for Sandusky. But Anthony Wayne, points allowed. In general, they're solid, pun intended. 25 points. They gave up 25 to Findlay, 19 to Bowling Green. Everybody else, the 9 others, 14 points or less. And in some cases, significantly less than 14 points.
Sure.
So defense is tried and true. It'll travel home, away, neutral site games. So Coach Andy Brungard has that going for him. Sandusky's going to be facing a dynamic quarterback for the second straight week. They look darn good defensively against Mason Heinzel, picking them off three times, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so they're going up against Grant Kinney. He can't turn the ball over.
That's
one of those crucial things that any quarterback at any Division I through 7 in the Ohio high school football playoffs, you can't turn the ball over this deep into the season, because I'd argue like right now, this week, and then definitely next week, it is legit versus legit in many, many cases. So these tiny little errors are going to be magnified and amplified in the eventual outcome on the scoreboard. I'm looking for 2 guys to have big games for Anthony Wayne. Linebacker Kyle Weimer, and then offensive side of the ball, Dylan Ty. Just have a hunch.
All right, there we go. Now you want to stop Jason Henlon. You want to stop Amir Aaron if you're Anthony Wayne. Good way to do that. Let's let that grass grow a little longer out in White House this week. Let's slow down those athletes for the Blue Streaks.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's always an issue. We've seen so many teams this year, Whitmer and Perrysburg in particular, go into Anthony Wayne and really struggle just to keep their footing. You try to cut and your feet just go out from under you. So if you are a high-octane offense that's built around getting your athletes balls in space, lots of luck to you. The other thing is against Clay defensively, there are so many ways to play against them, but maybe the best thing is to drop extra guys in coverage, and that's how you end up picking off Mason Heinzel, because you cut down his lanes to get the ball to Troy Hazuda and Hudson Byers, etc. Here you've got to commit to loading up the box and stopping the run, because Grant Kinney is such a good, patient runner, and Braden Gardner is a home run hitter, and Crew Carroll will try and run you over. And if you do that, then you're vulnerable to guys like Dylan Ty and so forth, catching long passes. Cam Miller. Both of them had great touchdowns the other week in the win over Perrysburg. I feel like Anthony Wayne has too many ways that they can beat you offensively, 100%. On top of which the defense, as Justin said, is spectacular. They've been so good all year. I see Anthony Wayne winning this one, and possibly by, 3-4 touchdowns even.
All right, you want to see who wins it yourself, make sure you head over to the BCSN Plus app Friday night at 7 p.m. to get that one. But now we got to go to our game of the week, brought to you, of course, by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Cisco, you know what to do. All right, game of the week. Whitmer Panthers, St. Edward Eagles. I remember flashback 14 years, the state semifinal when Eds beat Whitmer 23-13 before going on to beat Braxton Miller's Huber Heights Wayne team for their first football state title. Well, now they're riding 3 in a row. Whitmer's got a lot to handle in what you look at those records, 6-5. This is not a 6-5 team talent level, but they've played an incredible schedule, just like we talked about teams like St. Ignatius as well.
Yeah, it's kind of where the imperfect nature of the OHSAA playoffs is kind of brought to bear, because St. Ed's, 5-5 of the regular season. They're the 7 seed. I would doubt they're the 7th best team. And it's how you end up with, a Lorraine getting their teeth kicked in by 3-7 Berea Mid-Park, and you end up with Napoleon going on the road and blowing out Medina Buckeye. It's an imperfect system, but it's as good as it gets, really. Justin mentioned St. Ed's. It's not a typical St. Ed's team.
Sure.
They lost so much. The guys that have won 3 straight state championships, and even worse right now, they're dealing with some serious injuries. Brandon White's an All-American running back. He's done for the year. Zach Hackelman, their best wide receiver, he's out. Their most productive and disruptive defensive lineman is out. So they're having to move some pieces around. But I mentioned it earlier with Clyde, the DNA of a program. You've got so many good athletes. You got a lot of good football players, but you've got winning football players just up and down that program, weeping down the walls in the school, right? And that's always so tough to contend with. On top of which, there's nothing they haven't seen this year. And in fact, they just saw a pretty similar team to Whitmer in a lot of respects.
In Findlay,
Findlay, and held a good Findlay offense to 3 first downs in total. It's going to be a slugfest for sure.
Justin?
All right, so with St. Edwards, they won 3 state titles, 15-1 each of those years, 45-3. Outstanding. However, looking at their recruiting rankings on 24/7 yesterday, I saw that in the class of 2024, so the graduating seniors from last year's team, they had 8 Division I recruits. 8. One of the reasons why they won a state title for the 3rd straight year.
That tends to help, yeah.
This year's senior class, 1. They got 1. So if you're Whitmer, kind of a no excuses type of situation. So you got Carter Lowe, Ohio State bound D1 recruit. You got Brady Ford, quarterback, going to a D1 school, not a Power 5 school, but still a D1 school. You got a bunch of
Jemison
playmakers on offense and defense. The key, in my estimation, for this is consistency and resiliency, and then the perseverance. Can you get down if you take a shot at it's a 15-play drive and you give up a touchdown?
Right.
Can you respond and you're not demoralized and you can answer the bell and then say, okay, we're going to take your shot. We're going to deliver a shot to you.
Yeah.
So that's one key element. And then some personal foul penalties have occurred over the course of the season for Whitmer.
Yes.
So not necessarily calling out anybody. It's just a collective group. You got to make sure that that is zipped up and not happening. And then I'll look to some guys like Ty Davis, Harold Glover, Kamar Burton, Napoleon Jemison. You got to step up and match the physicality that St. Edward will bring. And you got to be able to get a stop on third down and get off the field and force a punt and give the football back to your offense, because they need that offensive line as well to match up and play well, because they did against Perrysburg. They got crushed on the line of scrimmage against Anthony Wayne, and then they did respond. And I asked Coach Ken Winters, I said, do you have to worry about which type of Whitmer team is going to show up? Are you guys past that? And he said, I would be shocked and surprised if we don't come out ready to play, and everything that phrase encompasses. So if that type of Whitmer team can come, they were up 20-0 on Perrysburg at one point.
Yeah.
If that team comes, this is a winnable game against St. Edwards. And they're taking the underdog role because they see three-time defending state champs. So they're saying, hey, everybody in the state isn't going to pick us. We can pick ourselves. They got to get the job done.
Can I jump in real quick?
As quickly as you possibly can talk. Go.
Whitmer defensively, they've excelled at picking off passes. Their pass defense has been outstanding. St. Ed's does not run the ball well. They average less than 4 yards a carry. Thomas Chaney, their quarterback, has to go out and be a gunslinger. That could play into Whitmer's favor. Go.
All right, we'll see if that plays into their favor. We, of course, now time to go back in the past, like we do every single week for our BCSN era athlete. We're going down to Findlay. Carly Roethlisberger, a dominant force for the Trojans on the court, both basketball and volleyball, a first-team All-Ohio player in both of those sports, all-time career leader in Findlay for points scored, over 1,600 points, went down to Oklahoma from there, played 64 career games for the Sooners, including 2 Final Four appearances that the Sooners made in that time period. One of our top 20 female athletes of the BCSN era, Carly Roethlisberger, down in Findlay. We'll be right back after 30 seconds from Buffalo Wild Wings.
I've saved so much money enjoying Buffalo Wild Wings BOGO half-off traditional wing Tuesdays. I can finally afford everything I've ever wanted in life. Wings. All I ever wanted was more wings. So yeah, buy one, get one half-off traditional wings is the perfect deal for me and my lifetime yearnings. I value it more than literally anything. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
All right, it is time for Games List. You want more wings, you go to B-Dubs. You want more games, you come to BCSN. Game day tailgate, we talked about it, will be at Whitmer for St. Ed's and the Panthers. Mid-Park, Perrysburg, Sandusky, A-Dub, St. Francis, Medina Highland, Revere at Central Catholic, Napoleon at Bay Village Bay, and of course, the Walleye back on BCSN Friday night in the Bank Tank. Mason, what do you see up there? What's one thing that sticks out to you?
That Whitmer St. Ed's game is going to be fun. I really, truly hope that comes down to the fourth quarter. I think Whitmer, I saw on Fantastic 50, Drew Pasteur's website, he predicts St. Ed's by 20. I think it's going to be a closer game than that. And I'm really excited to see how St. Francis holds up at Highland. Highland's blown everybody out, but I don't want to be betting against Josh Linke and company right now.
Yeah, they are on fire. The culture has shifted, as he told Justin.
Yeah, all these games live on the BCSN Plus app. We got some contingency plans. We also have state volleyball going on this week. So on Thursday, Anthony Wayne and St. Ursula are playing as well in the state semifinals. So we got to kind of divide and conquer. So if St. Ursula volleyball wins, their state championship game is on Friday at 3 o'clock. We will have that as well, coverage-wise. If not, we'll also add Ottawa Hills football game to this list.
Hey, the benefit of having the boss here on set is he can let you guys know all the context that you need We'll be right back here, of course, next week at 4 p.m. for a brand new episode of the podcast. Follow at Justin Feldkamp, at M. Lowry, BCSN, of course.
Streak Alive.
BCSN Sports. Anywhere you need your social media stuff. We'll be back for round 3. Hopefully we get a lot more of those teams still in this thing next week. That's it. We'll see you next Wednesday.